Hey, this is Carolyn, and we are doing the POV point of view module. It is free and hopefully short. I never know how these things are going to go, but hopefully fairly short. Point of view, well, let's back up. There's two things. First is, what type of POV are you writing in? One type is first person. That is, I did this, I did that. Hunger Games is possibly the most famous example of first person. Now, the problems with first person are A, it's hard to write, and B, you can only be in that person's perspective. You're married to Katniss. You can't go anywhere else, know anything else. It is all from her perspective. Now, the good thing about first person is it's very intimate because it's first person. We're inside them. There's no distance between us. It's very engaging. The second, well, there's three. See how these get longer and longer. Okay, so there's third person, which is he said, she said, Jamie said, Curtis said, whatever. It's your characters are in that fashion. The benefit of third person is that you can bounce around heads and that you can see more than one person's perspective so that we can be in many different locales at one time and not be married to just one person. And we like to have close third person. I talk about interior third person, trying to make third person as close to first person as possible. We'll talk a lot about that later, but for right now, know that there's third person. There's a third, which is omniscient, which is imagining your camera up on the ceiling and looking down with a bird's eye view, God's view of the situation. You can know things that are not in common knowledge. You can know things the character doesn't know. The problem with this is that it's omniscient, is that you know everything and there's no mystery, and it's very aloof. It's distant. So third, omniscient, you really don't want to be omniscient if at all possible. You want to be as close third person as you possibly can if you're going to write third person. And then first person, which is I, third person's he and she, and you cannot mix the two. I know somebody tried to do first person with multiple different POVs. No, that's not how it works. And you can't mix I and he and she in the same thing. So you have to commit to either first person or third person, and I strongly do not recommend that you do omniscient. So that is the type of POV we're talking about. Now we're going to talk about what is POV in the moment. So whether you're in first person or third person, you cannot know anything that the character didn't know via their senses, i.e. sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. If you can't do that, then you cannot say that they know something. An example, somebody sitting across from me, they seem to be having a good time, and see how I say seemed. I don't know that. They may be miserable. They may be suicidal. I don't know what's inside their head. I can't know what's inside their head. So you always have appeared, seemed, apparently. You always have to modify if you're looking at someone else and describing their mood, because you cannot say they're happy, they're sad. You cannot say that. You can only say what you can see, smell, touch, hear, taste. Okay. And that is a big POV violation where you go into the other person's head. You make assumptions about the other person. And that is a POV violation because we can, again, only be inside that character and see and know things that are known to us. If you go into the person's head, then A, you're either POV violating and going omniscient, meaning you've gone into the God position and now can know things that the character couldn't know, or you have clearly POV violated and jumped in the other head. So how you handle transitions between different characters is I'll be in a POV, my hero's POV, and then I'm going to go to someone else's. So I stop there and then I drop down a line and I do asterisk space. I then bold that. I then knock it back to the left-hand corner and then center it. Now, normally you always want to have formatted lines beneath that, because if you try in Word to hit return past 3 asterisks, it's going to do this weird 2 asterisk weird thing. So don't do that. Always have blank lines after your asterisks and to go into your next POV. So I'm in my hero. 3 asterisks. Now I go into my love interest. Okay. I now go into somebody else's perspective. Now I've jumped into their body and I cannot know anything about the hero at this point, even though I was just in the hero's perspective, because now I'm in the love interest's point of view, and she can or he can only know what they can see, hear, touch, taste, etc. And I know that this sounds confusing at first, but as you write and people point out to you there's POV violation, it's because it's very jarring for the reader. They need to know whose head they're in, whose perspective they're supposed to be paying attention to know how the story is going to go. So if you jump into omniscient, that's going to distance the reader from you because it's so cool, not cool in the good point, cold perspective, not intimate, very distant, etc. And if you jump between heads during a section, that's going to be confusing. Why do I now suddenly know what the woman's thinking? Now, the only exception to this is erotica during sex. They actually jump heads very frequently. It's a very common meme. So you can do it there. Anywhere else, no. Any other, no. And of course, you can do whatever you want. Always put, if you want to make money, if you want to be successful, if you want to get 5-star reviews, if you want to sell books, you need to understand POV, whether you're in first, third, or omniscient. You have to know what POV you're in. You must stay in that POV until you make a clear change to a new POV and then pick up there and be inside that character and not tell me things about another character that I wouldn't know just being a human being, right? I don't know if that person is sad, happy, thrilled. I can say they appear to be. They seemed it. I can't say for sure. And that's where most people make a thing. Also, you'll say they waited with anticipation. Did they? I don't know. I know what my character felt. My character felt anticipation. The others looked anticipated. I don't know. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're thinking about killing their spouse. I don't know. You can't know, and neither can the character know. So those are the most common POV violations. Point of view is through a single character. If you are first person, you are married to that character for the rest of the book. You can have other characters, but everything is through the eyes and the lens of the one character, like Hunger Games. If you go third person, then you must stay in a POV, and the average length of a POV for me is normally about a page to a page and a half. Sometimes I'll go out to 3. I won't go more than that because it just gets boring. Switching POVs is very refreshing to the reader and drives the reader. So I tend to stay in about one and a half, sometimes up to 3 pages, but no more than that. Most of the time I'll go back to a 3-page POV and actually break it in half and move it across. So that's what you should be shooting for. And on the average, a chapter is around, 7 to 10 pages. So you're probably going to get 6 or 7 POVs in there and switching around. And I like switching heads because it gives me a new perspective. It refreshes for the reader. And especially in an action sequence, it allows me to, almost like cutting through a movie, jumping to other pieces of the action so we know what's happening all over and we don't lose the thread of the entire group that is fighting. All right. That was point of view, POV, first person, third person, omniscient, first person I, third person he, she, omniscient, they, I guess. I don't know. I don't write omniscient, so I don't know. And in third person, one person's perspective only, you cannot know what that character wouldn't know if they were standing there right in front of you. Hopefully that was helpful because I'm going to talk about POV a lot. So hopefully you understand this and have a fantastic writing day. And I wish you all the best.